Ladies and gentlemen, may I please welcome on stage for this final session and wrap-up the Deputy Director General of the DG for Informatics of the European Commission, Mr. Mario Campolargo.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we are coming to the end of our very successful conference. But we couldn't do it without inviting the rapporteurs of the various sessions that we had to share with us what are the main messages that they extracted from the sessions. So it's my pleasure to invite Konstantinos. Maybe I'll propose the following, that we invite the four rapporteurs to join the podium, because like this you can see all of them. Please come, Sabi, Nikos, all the other colleagues. So let's get the rapporteur of the first session to share with us what was the main achievements of that one. And you will see that we'll have no more than 3 minutes to do each one of the rapporteur of each one of the sessions. So Matthias, Stürmer, please join the podium to do your quick report, or do it from there, up to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario, for this introduction. So, as you've all been here in the morning session with the plenary, I think it's clear that we have seen the different levels of discussion today. So first of all, we had heard Tony with the introduction of the changing the mind and changing mindset and being open for also resistance. And then we had 5 presentations of different examples in the European Union where actually governments use the sharing and reuse approach within their governments, also from the OECD and the European Commission. And what I've learned today, that it's a clear change in the mindset that governments nowadays, to actually get to win this challenge, these challenges with the digital transformation, are actually required to be more open, be more transparent, and actually to actively share their software, their data, but also their knowledge, their expertise. It's not just about machines and databases, but it's also about humans and having a dialogue between each other. So I thought it was a very interesting morning session to actually give this first introduction, and also I had today a very long day, but I saw a lot of great examples where the Commission, but also countries do such sharing of software solutions as open source software, as services, and I think that's a good start for the next moderators' summaries.
Thank you, Matthias. I think it was very short and concise. Thank you very much. Can I ask Konstantinos then to report on the second session, even if this micro does not seem to be working? Use that one.
This one works. Thank you very much. So I was the moderator of the track, which was about the orchestration of the delivery of reusable IT solutions. And I can highlight 4 points. So first of all, we all agreed that sharing and reuse should be in the core of a general Commission policy on the digital and on interoperability. So we saw that this is a principle, sharing and reuse, which is encapsulated into the European interoperability framework. We've seen that this is also a principle which is followed in specific, in domain-specific initiatives of the Commission, and in the end, it is something which is a booster for the realization of the digital single market. Then we moved a bit into main challenges that public administrations have in order to reuse solutions. We said that, okay, we do know that it requires a cultural change. It happens with the new generation, that they are very keen in exchanging digitally their feelings and their data and their needs. But how does it happen with the public administrations, which are structured organizations? And then you said that, first of all, they need to know they need to know very, very quickly which is the solution that they can get, it fits to their needs, and can be actually reused in an easy way. So this is a big challenge that they have, and for this we said, okay, there should be registries where all this information can be found. There should be repositories of reusable solutions, and they should be linked at national level, should also get linked at EU level. So there should be a certain federation that can facilitate this process. And once you identify what you need, you also need to have generic building blocks. You need to have those building blocks in key areas, like, for example, procurement, like, for example, translation, like, for example, identification. And once we finished with this discussion, it was the good Portuguese colleague that persuaded us that if you don't have e-identification, you cannot build any public service. So this is the cornerstone for the creation of all the other public services. Then there has been a very good example given by the good colleagues from Estonia and Finland, which concerns cross-country coordination. So in our view, this is something which is happening, sharing and reuse at national borders for obvious reasons. It is something that the Commission preaches and supports a lot through instruments, but this is not necessarily to be done within this perspective. It could also be between countries. They can have agreements, high-level agreements, to work together on certain issues. And there, I think what is needed is that there should be not only the political will, but should also be a sort of a very firm operational agreement on arrangement on how to collaborate. And I will finish with my last point, which is that we have observed, actually I observed myself once I was preparing this wrap-up session, that many of the recommendations that we are addressing in the framework, in the sharing and use framework, have been already respected by the cases that have been demonstrated. So these are enhanced cross-border coordination, collaboration, identify common needs, make sure that you have the technical readiness to cope with the IT solutions that you have, make the identification of those solutions easy and the like. So I think that this is really best practices based, and I hope it will be used.
Excellent. It is always good to see that de facto precedes de jure, so it's very good. Xavi was also attending the third and will report to us on the conclusions of the session, please.
Thank you, Mario. So I was chairing the business model track, and we had a very distinctive and rich set of speakers in the planning, and we had a very lively audience. We even received one question through Twitter, so I'm very proud of my audience. And I think we learned quite important lessons from these 6 presentations. One is that it's very important to get support, get political support, or get support from above. Without it, your chance of radically changing or changing the way that you're working is limited. We had one presenter who had the pleasure of having 4 bosses, so 4 chiefs. So the more you can have, the more political support you can get, the more chance you have. Second, set a clear target, and too many targets are not good. Set one target, 2 targets that can be communicated clearly among all the stakeholders, and mobilize your audience, your stakeholders to reach that 1 or 2 targets. Third, it's about people, and many presenters, this theme was repeated many times in most of the presentations. It's about people. You need a core team, and you also need to communicate well across different domains to reach out to people who may be not working in the same domain as you are, so you need to be very clear in your communication. Fourth is don't be afraid of not getting it right the first time. We had 2 cases, I think, that admitted openly that they didn't get it right the first time, but they kept on iterating until they achieved something which was closer to perfection. I'm sure that we all had all this problem. Perhaps we didn't admit it at the plenary, but it's common. So don't be afraid to iterate and not getting it right the first time. Fifth, clarify legal issues early on. So don't be afraid of moving beyond copyleft licenses. Really find a license that really fits your needs, and perhaps seek advice. And finally, well, I have two final ones if I still have half a minute. One is try not to only make current processes more efficient by digitalization, because digitalization and finding new ways of working can also open up the way of new ways of procurement, new ways of working with companies, new ways of developing things. So try not to think of digitalization or common services as a way just to be more efficient. And there was a nice question at the end of consider, public administration should consider where to stop and let the industry or the market take over. So do you stop at defining only the rules in terms of standards and specification and let the market take over? Do you go one step further and develop some pilot software or even common services? It's very hard to feel where you should stop. Thank you.
Thanks, Avi. And I think that was particularly interesting to see your reflection about what I would call failing forward, and something that is so common when we are in the startup and the innovation ecosystem should be actually applied then in the public administration's domain. So I'm very glad for that. Nikolaos, I mean, will we get your report from the fourth and last session?
Yes, definitely. And I think from the sharing and reuse in practice session, the magic number for today is 17. It's similar to 42, but it's 17. And what is actually 17? It's a number of reusable and, in fact, reused solutions that we got to know today. So we had 17 solutions presented in the two sessions, in the morning and in the afternoon. These were really diverse. We saw shared services and we saw open source software covering a range from geospatial and environmental solutions to public spending and public safety. It was a very interesting collection of use cases. It was a very interesting collection of implementation experiences. We got to know a lot about, first of all, what is the business model between all those solutions and what is the sustainability. And there we've seen cases of people, of organizations that decide as part of their mandate to provide a solution to others within government or to citizens for free. But we also saw cases where organizations decide to start charging for the service they provide. And there we even got to know different charging models. For example, there was a case saying, okay, we charge our users, which are in this case municipalities, based on the number of citizens or inhabitants. So different business models were discussed, very interesting insights for the sustainability of shared services and open source projects. We also got to discuss a lot about the management buy-in and the communication and how we communicate benefits. As you said also, Zabi, in some of the cases people said, yeah, it was not always easy to get the management buy-in, especially if you have several bosses. So I think in our case, it was maybe a bit different, that several bosses do not necessarily always mean that you get faster decisions. So and at this point we identified the cost and benefit mechanism of ISA as a very good tool for identifying, in fact, the costs and the benefits. We spoke about user centricity and about co-creation and how we can engage the users in the development and in the further evolution of those solutions. And we spoke a lot, in fact, about solutions that solve problems, not solutions that, in fact, sell solutions. And for us, this is really the way forward. This is what came from the group. There was some discussion about the promotion and the communication. We all want to share, we all want to reuse, but of course, if nobody knows what our project is about, if we don't know who our target users are, if we do not know what is the message to bring to them, well, unfortunately, no one is going to reuse what we're sharing. So there were some ideas at the end and some discussions about how can we communicate the why, the what, and the how of our solutions using conferences, online means, offline means, digital means, in order to break into new customers, new markets. We spoke also about the importance and the risk at the same time, because we had, I would say, two different views there of engaging and involving the open source community. In many cases, relying on the open source community definitely delivers a benefit. You get a lot of expertise, you get a lot of support, you get a lot of insights. at zero cost practically. But in some cases, the open source community may have different priorities than your project, and you need to manage this. You need to be aware of this and manage this as a potential risk for your project. And going a bit more to the technical aspects of the work, we've seen that in all those solutions, let it be shared services or open source software, of course there is priority and devotion to using open technical standards, but there's equal importance given to using semantic standards. So interoperability not only at the technical level for usable solutions, but interoperability throughout the interoperability cake. So also semantic standards playing a very important role. And on this note, I would finish my wrap-up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Just one comment. The fact that 17 is the magic number means that the next time we get together will be more than 17. Will be probably 19. And then in 2050, you know, there will be a big challenge with what reflects actually the adoption of this share and reuse. As there is no dinner for free, the second question I'm going to have the possibility of asking you is, based on your on what you listen from the other colleagues, what will be the two ideas that you believe that we collectively should pursue towards the future? The two winning ideas that this community, this large community of practice, can actually you know, exploit to make our meeting of today and the journey that we are reinitiating here to be more effective. Who wants to venture? Nikolaos, go.
I think, first of all, that today's event was the first actual event that we had to bring the community together. And I think this in itself makes it a real community. So far, it was more a digital or a more loosely coupled community. I think this is definitely one thing. And then the need of really having discussions, not only at the general level of sharing and reuse, but also at sharing and reusing in specific domains. You mentioned EID, and I think it was also something that was brought up by the colleagues from Flanders. I believe there's equal other interesting domains, I don't know, procurement, health. So sharing and reuse from a domain point of view in order also to make it more concrete.
Great. So communities of practice go deep in very concrete and urgent and important matters.
Yes.
Xavi.
Yeah, I think I can only add to this that also came out, this same thing came out during our panel discussions, that I think now is the step to create a real community around the sharing and reuse concepts and principles. And already today we heard a large number of good practices, of good cases, of good business models that perhaps that could be replicated in a different member state. So I think that the best outcome of this conference is that we learned of these cases, but also got to meet the people behind these projects. And I hope that this will be just the starting of creating a huge...
Innovation is where people meet.
That's it.
Correct.
In short.
Matthias.
I can continue. So first thing, I realized that still this topic of open source software is very relevant, that there is the question of about choosing the right license, choosing the right platform, but also then actually making it possible to reuse the software. So this is my learning number one. That's still a very current topic. And learning number two, like what I often am sad after such a nice conference, that we go out in all our home countries and see each other never again. Maybe yes, we do.
We'll be a virtual community, so this time will not be sad.
Exactly. So that's
Thank
what I actually wanted to add. That join up this platform. I think that's
very good.
The virtual platform. We can continue to interact, to communicate, to collaborate. So I liked a lot the presentations also about the new
so
version of
licenses
the
open
join-up.
source and maintain the team together. I mean, Konstantinos.
From my side, what I would like to say is that, okay, apart from networking, discussion about the principle,
it's okay.
and also creating a community, which is the obvious thing to do, I think that from this conference, we should not forget what Szabi said in the plenary, that in your sticks you have a live creature, which is the sharing and the use framework. So for us, it will be extremely important to know how this will evolve, receive your feedback on how you think it can help you, and also get remarks about its possible evolution. Because for me, this is the cornerstone of what we're doing here. So let's see how we can bring this at a maturity level, which is a bit beyond where we stand today.
Very good. Communities of practice, sharing examples in a focused way, getting all of us really having the opportunities to get. You want to add something else? Yes. Xavi, go.
Sorry, I just like to add that I would like to see that the framework is brought to the local people, the local administrations. So what I mean by bringing it is that I would like to see that the Commission brings and provides courses on how some of the principles, some of the recommendations of the framework can be implemented and how they implement.
Here we go. You are talking to yourself because you are part of the Commission. Konstantinos as well. So let's get the Committee of Regions involved in this process. Let's get this region involved in that process, and let's move ahead. Now, I think that the time for attention for you is gone, according to the keynote speech of this morning. Are we still awake? Say something, please. Very good. Is there any question for our rapporteurs that anyone is keen to ask? Did they reflect all what was discussed? Good. So I think that we have done an excellent job. So we don't need to prolong our session. So let me ask you a very big round of applause to these colleagues because they managed to bring to us in a very synthetic way all what was to be said about the sessions.